All right, thanks everybody for coming to this very special evening. I'll turn it over to our president to get started.
We are going to call the meeting to order at 6:02. And if we could all rise for the pledge of allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So a very special night, and obviously we filled the room with a lot of people who have great energy and affection for those who are starting a new journey at the end of this year. The piece I want to share, we'll have some folks come up and get a chance to speak about our honored retirees. But I want to share when we look at the piece that's right above the dais there, the Tahoma Cares piece. Having been here for 25 years, it's the people. That's what makes this place really special. And so I'm excited for us to get to talk about some of those folks tonight. I'm going to start by asking Chris Thomas to join me at the podium so he can say a couple words about his retiree tonight, who is Rhonda, which is super exciting. So thanks, Chris.
Yeah, okay. I got more than a few words.
We're going to put him on a 3-minute limit.
1958. Oh yeah, I have two retirees from Rock Creek Elementary School, and we'll go ahead and start with Rhonda Denherter. Rhonda, can you just stand up just for a second so everyone can see it? Wonderful heart, Rhonda. Rhonda began her journey in Tahoma 14 years ago when she was hired by Michelle Wilson to pilot an RTI math model at Rock Creek, serving qualified 5th grade students. After a short period of time, she was asked if she would fill a new RTI position, supporting K-5 students in math intervention. She enjoyed every moment of that position for 9 years, working as a team with Angie Hauser. After that, the MAP program was started, and she's been a part of it ever since. During her time at Rock Creek, and for a total of 10 years, Rhonda also enjoyed the position of musical producer for the middle school productions, grades 6 through 9 at the time. She enjoyed her night job and the privilege of working with such talented students. She also volunteered and supported the high school productions and appreciated working with talented students and directors there as well. When asked what her favorite position in Tahoma has been, Rhonda shared that it would have to be her current position as a math specialist, math assistance program. Having the ability to work with students, helping them with number sense and the opportunity to see numbers in different ways has been most enjoyable for her. One of Rhonda's fondest memories in Tahoma is of the early days at Rock Creek when she enjoyed the experience, opportunities, and privileges of representing PTA, helping families, and working as a staff member. They were new and exciting programs all the time. She also has fond memories of seeing her own children thrive and excel during their time in Tahoma. Exciting moments of robotics, We the People, and musical productions. We asked Rhonda, if you could give one piece of advice to the person who will fill your position in the future, what would it be? Her answer was this: every day, remember your purpose and passion and why you come to work. It must be to support and do what's best for the students. Also, take an opportunity to collaborate and learn from the professional, outstanding teachers you work with. As she moves into retirement, Rhonda is most looking forward to spending time with her family, moving to a drier climate, and continuing to support students by tutoring math. And I can definitely see her doing that. Over the past 5 years that I've worked with and gotten to know Rhonda, I've found her to be a consistently calm and supportive presence, both in the MAP room as well as on the bus lane or wherever else she supported students. We will miss you, Rhonda, and we wish you all the best in your well-earned retirement. We'll be handing out frames at a later time. Where's the ring? Where's the ring? We have another retiree in Brady Haytack. Brady, can you stand up? She's been called a master. She's been called Zorro, even at times. But she's a very talented individual, and I have a few words for her, or about her. Brady began her journey in Tahoma in 1989 when she was hired as an administrative assistant in special services. During her 9 years there, she also coordinated the summer school program for a few years. In 1998, she was hired to be the full-time building manager at Rock Creek. The following year, she was split between Glacier Park and Rock Creek, working as half-time building manager at each school, a position she has held ever since. There were a couple of years that she was split between 3 schools, working at Rock Creek, Glacier Park, and Cedar River. Other hats Brady has worn over the years include EEP supervisor, Camp Casey director, and drama coordinator. One of her favorite positions and some of her fondest memories come from the time she spent as camp director. Brady's love for all things Camp Casey was evident in the way she poured her heart and soul into making it the best possible experience for the kids. She shared, although a lot of work went into getting it organized, seeing the joy that the kids experience is something that will always stay with me. Having supportive and dedicated staff who also loved the experiences was icing on the cake. Brady's advice to the person who will fill her position as building manager is to listen and consider the input from stakeholders in any decision that you make, something Brady is very good at. I've been fortunate to team with Brady for the past 12 years and have appreciated and enjoyed her sense of humor, strong work ethic, and her amazing ability to figure out any scheduling issue she's challenged with. The things Brady is looking forward to mostly in her retirement are sunshine, golf, and her new home in Tucson. It's beautiful. You certainly deserve and have earned just that, Brady. Stay in touch and remember, once an eagle, always an eagle.
I want to invite up Shelley Gaston to the podium.
It's always hard to follow Chris because everyone wants me to hurry up then, right? No, good job. All right, so I get to talk a little bit about 3 of our retirees from Glacier Park, and I don't want anyone thinking I'm playing favorites, so I'm going in alphabetical order by first name. So I'm going to start with Chris Scarborough. So when I first met Chris Scarborough in the fall of 2014, I truly knew immediately just how lucky I was to be able to observe her work her magic with a room full of first graders. That year, I was hired as the instructional coach, and my role was really to help the teachers grow, including Chris. But I can honestly say that I learned more from Chris that year than she could possibly have learned from me. And this is what I learned. I learned what it meant to truly love each student, even if they weren't always very lovable. I learned to see joy in each child's work and to celebrate every small success. And I learned what it looks like to comfort a 6-year-old who just needed someone to love them. Every student who's had the good fortune to be in Chris's classes has been positively touched by her, and that is true of every adult who's had the good fortune of working alongside her. I'm super, super happy for Chris and that she gets to spend time also in sunny Arizona and closer to her grandbaby as well. And she's going to be surrounded by that family, but her Glacier Park family just isn't going to be the same without her. Thank you, Chris. All right, and now for Julie McGrath. Many of you in the room have heard of the late Rita Pearson. And Rita Pearson was about making sure that every child was really well taken care of. And she said that every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. I wish that Rita would have had the good fortune to know Julie, because she so embodies that. She has not given up on a single student. We have 8 days left of school, and she's going down fighting to make sure every single one of them ends their year in first grade successfully. I know that Julie has touched the lives of hundreds of students over the course of her career in education, not all in Tahoma, starting in Renton, where she met Andy, then Enumclaw. She's touched the lives of those hundreds of students over the course of her education, and I know that every single one of them left their year with her knowing they were loved and that she was, in fact, their champion. A fun fact you might not know about Julie is that she's an exceptionally talented polar bear mascot. She's brought our mascot tonight like no other at our spirit assemblies, during our school recognition ceremonies, at our school carnival, and most recently yesterday at our new parade through the school from our former polar bears who are graduating. That's even on Facebook if you want to check it out. I will forever be grateful for all that Julie has done to support Glacier Park and all of our students, and she will most definitely be missed. Thank you, Julie. So I too get to honor Rady. When I first met Rady is when I joined the Rock Creek staff in 2005 as a classroom teacher, and I was in awe of the level of support that she provided to the classroom teachers. But as a principal, I've had the opportunity to see just how valuable she is, not only to Glacier Park and Rock Creek, but to our entire system. Her contributions are simply too many to list, but just ask any student who's ever had the opportunity to attend Camp Casey, our summer EEP program, or perform in one of our Missoula children's plays, and you'll get a glimpse at some of the magic she's worked the past 33 years. Even more than that, for me personally, Rady's been an incredible mentor. She's helped me to grow as a leader. She shows me day in and day out how to remain calm under pressure and how to maintain a positive attitude even under the worst of circumstances. One of Rady's many strengths that I so greatly appreciate and embodies our Tahoma way is her deep belief in shared decision-making and empowering others to lead. While Rady is masterful at putting systems into place and probably could run the entire school, maybe the whole school system, sorry Mike, completely on her own, she truly listens to our stakeholders and is always willing to consider their input. Our staff and families know that their input is valued and considered by Rady, and they trust her decisions as a result. Rady's decision to retire is very bittersweet. Of course, I'm happy for her, and I know she's going to enjoy the golf course in the sunshine and her spending more time with her grandbaby as well. But the void that she will leave can truly never be filled. The thought of leading Glacier Park without Rady is truly incomprehensible. So, thank you, Rady.
Thanks, Shelley. I want to invite up Melanie Reedy from the Quilmans. Feel bad, like you should clap. Great, Melanie. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And Ruthie, do you want to join?
Oh, come on up, Ruthie. I need a friend. I need a friend. We are here to celebrate Laura Schofield. Would you stand up, Laura? Has made a difference for 14 years in students at Lake Wilderness. And I got to work with her for 2 years, and picture this, 2 years ago, we are faced with the challenge of supporting students with the highest needs remotely and through a pandemic. And our lead SAIL teacher is out of the classroom, and her heart for students and her calming nature is such that she walks into my office and she's like, I gotta find this program. I have to find this reading program. I said, okay, well, I am not the person to help you. She comes in, finds the program, and said, we're gonna download this program. Great. Well, it was not an intuitive download. Do you remember? It was turn to page 13, find the 17th word, and input it here. And it just spoke to your perseverance and that you do whatever it takes to support students and staff. Whenever I walk into that sale room and I say, how's it going? All heads turn to you and look to you and to your guidance. You have been Kelly's right-hand person for 14 years, and she says that you have touched the lives of so many students the past 14 years in the Lake Wilderness Sail Program. You are a wonderful educator, and you do a great job of thinking outside the box to support students with the most challenging of needs to reach their best potential. She often jokes that you are a taskmaster, but the students just keep giving more and more because you have a way of making them want to give all that they have. You work tirelessly in helping all kids maximize their potential. You are a master of organization, labeling, and keeping the entire program efficient and safe for all staff and students. There are sometimes 27 people doing 27 different things all at once in the SAIL program, and that's saying a lot to how you lead. You are a terrific friend, and we are all going to miss you so much.
So I just learned of Laura's retirement, actually, like a week ago. And I was like, wow, I gotta take this in. I have worked with Laura since she's been hired. And I've worked in the sales room with you almost the whole time you've been in the district. And I will tell you, she is an entrepreneur. She has helped me tremendously with personal things. She is amazing. We used to tell her all the time she should go to the tech department because she's so tech savvy and helps us with everything. But once we'd say, gosh, you'd be so good, you should apply. You know, they make good money, you should apply, but you can't leave our program, so don't. We used to do it all the time. But I just want to say you will be so missed, so missed. Good luck on your adventures, and I'm just so happy that you get to do this and enjoy the sunshine, and I'll just miss you. So I will have to find you where you're moving to so I can stay in contact when I need something, because I know you are always there. Thank you.
I want to invite up Bill Weiss from Mapleview Middle School.
Pleasure of announcing 3 retirements from Mapleview this year. The first one is Betty Bernstein. Betty, you want to stand up? A couple things you may not know about Betty is one thing is she used to teach drama, and I found that out because we were in some of our staffing challenges this year. She was the first one to cover the drama class. The other piece is, although she may be small in stature, there's a fire in her belly. And I mean that in a really good way. And for a principal similar to Melanie, who came in here at the first year of the pandemic and needing all the support we could, Betty was the only counselor with any experience in our staff, and we hired 2. So Betty was somebody who supported me, was a mentor to me. I leaned on her heavily. And even, like I said, she was small in stature. She lifted me up regularly. So thankful for her. I remember a coach of mine always, said, we were in one of our cleanup duties was always leave the place better than you found it. And Betty definitely has left the counseling department and Mapleview better than she found it. So thank you, Betty. Next one is Lori Harrington. And I've been in the district for a while, took a little break, but I always kind of knew of Lori. I think my first real introduction is when we were trying to figure out how we were going to do this pandemic and create instructional models, and we needed teacher help on this. And I asked Robert Talbert, who knew the staff really well, like, Rob, who are our good thinkers? Who are the people that we're going to need to figure out how we're going to do this thing? And he said, Lori Harrington is the one. And that's one of the things I really clearly remember about Lori is that summer, like the amount of hours she put in working with us to solve some of the most toughest challenges in the history of public education. Another thing you may not know about Lori, she's a veteran, and you see that in her grit, in her toughness, in her loyalty. All three of these people I'm going to recognize tonight are people that I think, that exemplify what it means to go out strong. Lori has done this. It's been one of her, I think she's one of her favorite years ever, and how well she's absolutely committed to her profession. So thank you, Lori, for everything you've done at Mapleview. I don't see Lori. Where is she? Oh, right there. The third one I have is Candy Lohman. Candy, will you stand up, please? First met Candy, I think Candy was when you were a parent, correct? I think it was, as I had her son in class. I used to teach science at the high school. But then in my years teaching science, and Candy's taught science, for many years in Tahoma, we would have several meetings where I got to know her. And then when I was an instructional coach for the district, I got to work with her more closely. And real quickly, she is just a great problem solver, absolutely committed to her students. She's a mom and a mentor to so many of our staff members at Mapleview. This year, I had to ask her, our department chair, been there for multiple years, had to want to leave, and Candy stepped right up. And in her last year retirement, has been an absolute phenomenal leader at Mapleview. So, gonna miss her dearly. Gonna miss all three of them dearly. They've all been a great part of making Mapleview just a great place to be. When I think of our arms locked, hearts full culture at Mapleview, all three of those have done just an incredible job, really modeling what that means. So, thank you so much.
I'll invite up Sean Cassidy.
Getting a little bit older, so I need some cheers here. I'm in a situation where, while we are going to represent and kind of honor Sherry Merrill tonight, we also have several people that are not here, and just want to mention the five of them together because we're celebrating retirements of David Adams, 30 years, Loretta Baker, 35 years, Brian Higa, 38 years, Scott Sims, 34 years, and Sherry Merrill, 34 years. That's a total of 171 years of experience. It's an impressive number representing decades of service to the Tahoma School District and this community. In addition to honoring the other honored retirees tonight, they have played an important role at an important juncture in time to support the children in our community and to sustain the belief that we have within our district to do the right thing for kids, even when it's not convenient, even when it's maybe not the easiest thing to do. So again, to all of you, we obviously recognize your tremendous work and talent. Thank you. But tonight we do offer our personal congratulations to Sherry Merrill on her retirement. Sherry, stand please. Sherry's here with her husband, and so she's been teaching middle school math and science in Tahoma for the last 18 years, and before that, 16 years in the Kent School District. If I was to kind of talk about who Sherry Merrill was, I would think about her dedication, her hard work, her tenacity, her grinding, really trying to make sure that all students learn, and not giving up on any student in the classroom, not allowing any of the obstacles to be excuses that would prevent students from learning and being successful. She would often end up coaching students, not necessarily just in terms of math, but in terms of the fact that you can do it, that you are capable of more. And that's something that is really special. There is, when we hire teachers in the Tahoma schools, we call other principals, and we ask, one of the questions on the form is, would you put your child in this teacher's classroom? And I absolutely did put my child in Sherry Merrill's classroom, and I would do it again. She's that kind of a teacher. I took some time to ask some of the other coworkers some thoughts around what their experience with Sherry has been over time. Assistant Principal Paul Gardner shared his appreciation of Sherry, who's always willing to learn and just try out new ideas. Now, I remember about 7 years ago the fact of her jumping enthusiastically into work with peers around claim evidence and reasoning. And something that was kind of new, but she heard from another peer that this was something that really helped their students and jumped into it and really tackled moving some of the middle school science curriculum in a better direction, a direction where we really have kids that benefit from that. Janie Magnan consistently praises her work, not just as a peer, but as a mentor. And she did her student teaching with Sherry and learned so much, again, not only about math and science, but about working with students, about communicating with families, about doing the right thing. Dale Heinbigner, our math department chair, had the following to share, quote, "I've known Sherry Merrill since I started teaching here almost 15 years ago. She taught 7th grade science and math at TMS, and when we made the move to Summit Trail, Sherry continued to split her duties in science and math, and then a few years ago moved to the role of teaching only math. She put all her energies into one subject. The math department was very fortunate that Sherry made that move. She has done an outstanding job teaching our middle school students and has been an outstanding collaborator with the rest of the math team. I've always enjoyed our conversations and her constant upbeat attitude towards teaching and being around middle school kids. She's been a mentor to many teachers in Tahoma and will be sorely missed. Thank you for all your hard work and positive approach to teaching." Her current peer and past teammate, Renee Stroop, shared this story about Sherry. She said, quote, "My fondest memories of Sherry are when we opened Tahoma Middle School and we were coming together as Team Omega. I remember lots of laughter and support since I was a brand new teacher, and I remember her excellence as a science teacher, and Sherry always trying to find ways to support every single student. We all loved that when she was training a service dog at school, and it was like we had our own special mascot. Sherry inspired me daily with her teaching and open and caring personality. She will be greatly missed." She has always been positive about student potential and helping them reach new heights, and that's not surprising. Her peers have remarked in several conversations that her enthusiasm to go outside and work out, whether it be on the hiking trail, ski slope, or golf course. Paul Gardner shared even included dragon boat racing in the past. I did not know that. But as she retires this month, we wish her all the best in her future endeavors, as she has positively impacted generations of kids in our community to grow and climb in their personal learning journey. So thank you, Sherry. I appreciate it.
Sean, 170-something years, that is a lot between 5 people. I want to invite a couple other people up to the podium with me to talk about our last retiree. So Rob, if you don't mind coming up, and Mike Mariansky. Don't be scared, 3 superintendents in one spot. This can go long. Just kidding. I hope I'm kidding. Going to talk about Terry Duty, if you wouldn't mind standing up and waving, Terry. You can see on the screen, Terry's got 38 years there. And 1984, when Terry came to Tahoma, I was lucky enough to get to be a student in his class. And so I have a long history with Mr. Duty. And the joke that I like to tell, probably too much, is I went away and started teaching in other places and tried to get a job here, and he wouldn't hire me. So got turned down, went to Lake Washington instead, but ended up coming back here and getting the opportunity to have Terry as my boss for quite a few years. Me and my colleagues always refer to Terry as the best principal ever. I look at Terry as a model for principal leadership. I feel so lucky to have gotten to be a teacher and to learn from you about what it means to be a leader. I've shared with you how much impact you've had on my life, and I'm deeply appreciative for all that you've done. Part of this is Sean made the comment about the 170-something years and the number of kids impacted. And for you, the number of leaders that you've impacted, it's been a force multiplier thing, where you're going to live on, and the impact that you have will go on for generations. So thank you very much, Terry. I appreciate you.
I didn't want to have to follow both of you. I I thought about doing what I normally do, and that is to ad lib after some reflection on the purpose of being here. What words I might share that would have something for, a meaning for Terry and convey my deep appreciation and admiration for his leadership journey in our school system and at Tahoma High School. But at my age, I'm a little concerned that there may not be enough free brain cells to move from reflection to implementation. And I knew these guys who are much better public speakers than me, and I didn't want to embarrass myself. So I decided to put it in writing. First, thanks, Mike, for giving me this opportunity. Rob, I never did get this chance. Was there a reason you didn't invite me here? This for you.
I didn't want to church.
Probably most of the room do not know the history of Terry's journey from teacher to assistant principal to principal at Tahoma High School, so I thought I might briefly share what I remember. Again, for you two and you, I'm a little aged, so I might get this a little backwards at times. So don't say anything until I leave the room. Sometime during the science teaching experience, Terry made the decision he wanted to be an administrator. After finishing his program, an assistant principal position opened up at the high school, and he was selected. As it turned out, it was perfect timing because the principal position became available shortly after. For a number of reasons at the time, he decided to move forward with an interim principal, Archie McCallum, a recently retired principal from Auburn High School. I'd like to say we went with an interim because we saw the potential Terry brought to the work. However, that would not be entirely accurate. But following Archie's first year, we decided to extend for an additional year to allow Archie an opportunity to continue mentoring Terry as we made the decision for a transition to his principalship. I need to share that if one wrote a book on old school principals, they would use Archie as the prototype. So Terry was mentored by one who saw his main responsibility being to manage the building and ensure that problems were solved before they got to the superintendent. Though not the primary attribute of today's successful principal, at the time and even today, management remains a critical component of high school principal's job functions. I've shared with Terry the importance of the principal position in a one high school system. At times, it's the most visible position in the system, and mistakes are multiplied because of the visibility, importance, and potential to scale rapidly. I can say from experience that Terry understood that importance and performed that function professionally, processing issues successfully before they became a sustaining distraction to the learning process. On the few occasions when we did need to discuss some of the options that he chose, Terry was always open to feedback and responsive to suggestions. I do not recall a need to ever revisit a behavior that was repeated while processing the difficult issues a high school principal encounters every day. As I reflect on our experience together, it reinforces the importance of diversity of opinion and belief necessary as a system transforms and develops a learning culture. Terry and I have had an influence on Tahoma's learning culture, as have these two and many others in the room, what some call the Tahoma way, as Shelley shared. Though Terry and I did not always agree, there was one thing that allowed for our disagreement and that did not distract from the mutual respect we hold for each other. That one thing is Terry's deeply held concern for all young people, with a soft spot for those that are struggling and whose backpacks are full of experiences that have potential barriers to academic and social emotional success. That belief manifests in many ways, including that on my t-shirt. Remember that one, Terry? Where Terry participated in a video presentation of that song. We don't have it, but I encourage you to try to find it. Look at his face. He opened himself to less than positive feedback in that adventure by some because he was willing to be vulnerable if it contributed to a successful school opening for all. Though our leadership philosophies are not always in complete agreement, that concern for young people overrides those differences. Thank you, Terry. I could share more, but will limit to an additional contribution Terry has made in our system and at Tahoma High School. He, quite frankly, hires very, very good teachers. Many of them being far better than just good, excellent teachers. I guess you finally made that guy. young people and adults. We can point to the many academic, artistic, and athletic accomplishments of our young people, to the adult conversations about closing remaining gaps in student achievement, and to the legacy that Terry leaves for others to build upon. Though you will be physically leaving high school, your presence will continue to impact these accomplishments and conversations as others continue your leadership journey. Terry, take pride in your leadership journey as it has had a positive impact on thousands of young people and adults. And transition to a new chapter in your life, knowing that your aspirations for our young people will continue to guide the behavior of those you have put in place to continue this most important work. Thank you.
I wasn't going to say anything, Mike, but you were my retired. You spoke very eloquently, so very nice. Very nice indeed.
See, that's why I didn't want to follow.
38 years ago this summer, I received a phone call at home from the then Tahoma High School principal, Barry Fountain. He said, "We're interviewing science teachers. I want you to call this guy and see if he could be a good assistant basketball coach," because I was the head basketball coach at the time. Typical Tahoma, I had no notes, no questions to ask, no preparation of any kind to Tahoma at that time anyway. But I made a phone call and Terry Duty's the one that picked up. And so the story began 38 years ago. And I feel really honored to be here tonight with Mike. And Mike, thanks for inviting me to be a small part of the story closing for Terry, his educational career here in Tahoma. And it's been a great one. Now, there's a very long list of accomplishments for Terry and for the high school that it's way too long for me to go tonight. If you talk to Terry right after the meeting, he'll tell you all about all of them. Go there for that. But I want to maybe approach it a little different. Terry hasn't always just been the high school principal for the last quarter century. I knew him back when he was a really good science teacher, a really good football coach, a really good basketball coach, and had a great career before he became an administrator in the mid-90s. And he, as Mike mentioned when he was speaking, that he made the transition into the principalship, eventually becoming the Tahoma High School principal. And a lot of folks, Mike will remember this, nobody else would know in the room, but we had gone through, in my time there, 4 or 5 high school principals in a fairly short period of time before Terry took over. So there was a need for somebody to take the reins and be a leader at the high school. Terry filled that role very well for a number of reasons. One is, again, I don't want to repeat everything Mike said, just being an excellent administrator in many ways. But also Terry was part of this community and has been a part of this community for the entire 38 years that he's been in it. The previous principals that we had up to that point were not part of the community in the same way, part of the fabric of who we are at Tahoma and in Maple Valley and the surrounding area. And I think that's been one of his greatest strengths as a principal in our school district as a community leader as well. I have a lot of fond memories and stories I can tell you about our time together. I know that in my career, the best stretch I ever had was, and Terry, I remember when I left, he'd say it's never going to be the same. He was right. We had 4 or 5 years together as assistant principal, and together with Archie and Kathy Davidson, and then Terry became principal, and I was assistant for a few years. We just had a great time. There's one thing I never told Mike this story, I'll tell tonight. When Terry became principal, we've been assistant principals for a long time. And when you're at graduation, Terry and I as assistants, you have to monitor all the kids. So we wear our suits, we have the walkie-talkies, sunglasses on, kind of like an FBI thing. Kathy Davidson didn't think that was funny at all. I had no sense of humor for that. But when you're at all these graduations, Mike was the superintendent at the time, and he would give his speech, and he would often give a very similar speech every year, to the point that Terry and I had it memorized. And so that when Terry became principal, I offered him like $5. If you give Mike's speech right before he does, I offered him $5. And he wouldn't go for it. How loyal he
I
was.
learned from Archie, the superintendent only has one responsibility.
I know.
To accept the class, not give a speech.
I can give it right now if you want. Terry wouldn't go for it. There's many other stories we won't go into tonight. The last thing I'll say kind of echoes a little bit what Mike said, that when I was superintendent, honored to have been, one of the things I get asked often in the community is, what's the toughest job in the school district? You must have the toughest job in the school district. Well, no, I really don't. The actual toughest job in the school district is first grade teacher. Spend 15 minutes in the first grade classroom. Guarantee you will think that first grade teacher is the toughest job in school. I'm also married to a first grade teacher. to say that. But a close second, or in anybody's top 5, is being the high school principal. There's just no question about it for all the reasons Mike described. And you think about how different our world is in 2022 than it was in whatever year Terry started, 1997, 96. All of the political and social things that have happened in our world and in our country and in our community all come through the front of the schoolhouse door, no more so than at a high school. And Terry has been the face of our high school for all that time, managing and handling all of those issues at the same time as we're doing reading, writing, and arithmetic, which is theoretically what we're here for. And by the way, the school day is still 6.5 hours long, 180 days, and yet we're all asked to take on all these extra responsibilities that the board here is now very well ready to move this. Having Terry provide that leadership in our community as the high school principal, and he's just second to none in that job. So congratulations to Terry, 38 great years. I'll see you around the neighborhood.
Thanks so much, everyone. We talk about the impact, the direct impact that the retirees up on the screen and below on the screen have had on kids, but that is ongoing. Think about the relationships you formed, what we've learned from each other along the way, and know that you'll continue to have that impact. And looking forward to hearing stories about people in the sun, golfing, and all those sorts of things. So we're going to take about 15 minutes, so until 7 o'clock. And the refreshments are right over here. It's an opportunity to say face-to-face congratulations to our retirees. And then at 7 o'clock, we'll move the refreshments out into the hallway and reconvene our work study. So please feel free to help yourself there to the refreshments. All right, we're going to invite the folks from the Custodial Maintenance and Grounds Department plan to join us up front. Sure.
I didn't take into this training.
It's all right.
Madam President, directors, honored to be here, superintendents, department directors. It's an honor to be here tonight. I'm Sean Kelly, the supervisor of operations, so I have custodial maintenance and grounds maintenance here. I'll introduce the team here. This is Tina Angel, administrative assistant for the maintenance department. This is Melissa Coghill right here. She's the head custodian at Lake Willis Elementary School. Go Wildcats, principal's here. And this is Cody Bowden. He's our maintenance specialist. Very excited to be here tonight. Now I'm going to tell you a story really quick before we get going. Custodians, maintenance, and ground staff, we're usually on the outside and on the back side. So we hear the word curriculum, systems thinking, or anything like that, we're usually kind of scurrying out the other way. So when we got asked by the superintendent and the school board to come up with this, I had to be really careful how I worded it to the custodians and maintenance staff, because they'll find a reason to not come to a mandatory meeting. So what we did is Mr. Krause helped me craft a nice email to them about how to get involved and become part of the learning and becoming involved with the school system. And we got them to come, and when I first sent the invite out, I got several texts, what is this? And I'm like, I went and talked to them or called them personally, because I know if I send an email back, they might misunderstand me. So we had a meeting, and I want to give big time kudos to Tracy Krause and Kyle Hood there, because they explained it to a way that they can understand. We don't think like certified people do. We are the support staff. We come in, we clean up, make things happen, get ready for the learning environment, get the next buildings ready for the next day. So I'd like to give big time kudos to those two individuals, and especially, well, I had a really hard time mentally getting this ready. So I talked to Lori Cloud several times about this. How do I understand this? And she got me through that, and that's when she goes, Tracy A. Cloud helped with that. So I want to give kudos to those two real quick before we get going. So thank you very much. And they did a really good job explaining to the team here. So thank you very much. Here we go, I'm going to do the front page, and then we're going to break it up here. Our goal, responsibilities, ensure safety, secure, healthy learning environments for students, staff, and partnering with our communities. I'm not sure who put that 2 words in there. And maintain visible facility instruments. So that's really big there. The next one is beliefs. That's pretty well verbatim, but care individuals, pride, professional growth, and impact our team. And I'm going to kind of go to the bottom ones really quick. These are the big ones that the team really came out, because we did these word puzzles and stuff like that several times. And communication is the link to our success, service, drive, and our priority, and then is together we are better. So it took a lot to get that going, bring us all together, but we feel pretty good about this. So we're now going to introduce the team that's going first, right?
I'm going to cover equity, and coming in new to the position and getting to work with the custodial maintenance staff has been great. I can see while we're in the small and large groups together that they collectively support each other and are excited to have their voices heard in this Tahoma Cares goals. As one of their goals in equity, they want to make sure that every individual is appreciated and treated equally.
I'm going to start with climate and culture. One of the biggest things with us is the communication. So our first 3 points can kind of be put into one description. It's take the time to process and reflect, listen and respect others' thoughts and opinions, and working to make everyone be heard and feel that they matter and that they belong within our buildings. Our last bullet point is partnering with the Green Team. We feel as a department that we need to help those kids meet and reach their goals and feel those accomplishments. Partnership is the next one I'm doing, and it kind of piggybacks off the equity. Communication within our department, as well as other departments, helps everyone, including ourselves, understand why we are here, what we want for our building staff and students. And then working on that communication and collaboration piece will naturally help with the trust and respect part of our goals, and as well as with accountability.
Hello, everyone. All right. So Sean would want you to do this in a slam poetry format, so do my best here. Start off with wellness. Our goal is to provide a happy and healthy work environment for our students and staff to encourage and improve our mental health. A happy spouse equals a happy house. Our employees, our coworkers are our spouse. If we have coworkers, that's going to reflect in our buildings. Overall, we want to increase positive mental state for all staff, students, and community members the moment they arrive on campus. Whether it's noticing our beautifully manicured grounds upon arrival, our clean and tempered buildings, or just a warm embrace or an encounter with one of our other staff members. It makes a difference. It helps with mental health and wellness. I guess that was it on that one. So did I touch base on all that? Yes. The high expectations, that's our goal. We want to create a higher expectation for our group. We want to provide the proper tools as well as training needed to have more knowledgeable, successful, well-trained staff. Overall, raise the expectations and standards we are accountable for in our daily tasks and duties. We want to work on keeping a strong line of communication between ourselves and other departments as well as all staff. And keep it in a timely fashion. We want to be open and honest with each other and communicate properly. We want to keep it very transparent and make sure that everyone feels like they're being heard. And this will increase pride and trust in ourselves and other departments. I think that'll give us a better understanding of each other, and that's try to raise those expectations.
That's it. Flip page, you have taken training. Go to page 3. Okay, that's actually kind of good. Yeah, it says under construction, because one thing we had several meetings with us, the team here, and Tracy and Kyle were involved in that. We only had 2 department meetings where we pulled everybody in. It's a little hard to pull our departments in because you're pulling custodians and maintenance staff in. And the second time we pulled everybody in, one building couldn't come, and those custodians were really upset because they were not part of the process now. They wanted to get involved in this. So we gotta wait till phase 3, and I'll get together with the superintendent and come back sometime this fall, get to phase 3. When we get the whole team together in July, when we have staff meetings, because every Wednesday is gonna be a training day in July and August. So we'll finish this and get this back to the board and to the superintendent's office. So. Anything else before I close out? On behalf of the team, thank you for making sure we're part of the process. It meant a lot to all 57 custodians and maintenance staff, and it meant a lot to me too. I actually learned a lot too, and I know they all learned a lot too, so it was a great part being part of the process. Any questions? Because Cody will answer them.
Directors, do you have any questions?
Hey, great, thanks, we'll see you in
Come on, you're good for a question, always.
I don't know, it feels weird to be asking a question when there's nobody else asking questions. I'm sorry.
I'm just appreciative of the process that you all went through, you know. The commitment you made to this and the kind of grounding in purpose and alignment with the rest of the building and with kind of across the system. I think there's a ton of value there and shared purpose and shared understanding and language and so forth. And so I'm just really thankful that you invested the time to put into this, and I'm excited about where you're headed. So thank you.
Do you guys mind if I share?
Please, go ahead.
I just with this particular group, one of the things that really stands out to me about the work that they did, and like Sean said, it's hard to get this group in the room together. They took it seriously, and they had some really challenging conversations. The stuff that they ended up with on that piece of paper didn't get there easily. They challenged each other's thinking. I remember when we were at transportation in that staff lounge area, and there's several large tables, and we're sitting around those large tables. We're introducing things like Sean said, and you go off to have some conversations, and you're walking around, and they're having some no, that word is not the right word. That doesn't describe. I mean, I remember Cody in particular having a conversation at his table. That's not what we're about. That's a great word. That's not quite it. And just suffering with that a little bit and challenging each other with that. So that work that they did was super meaningful to that group, and excited to hear you guys talk about it and the energy behind it that the whole team has. I actually really love the part that Sean shared about one team not being able to be there because they're not there. They want to be a part of it. So it is truly making a difference, and it's because they're taking it so serious. So thank you so much. Appreciate your share.
Well, now I have a question.
Okay.
So you mentioned partnering with the Green Team. How has that been going in terms of partnering with student organizations?
And Dom's here too. So.
Pre-COVID.
Okay.
I can talk back very slowly. Pre-COVID, it was great. I think every school was level 3. Does that sound right? Mm-hmm. COVID's made it a little bit challenging just for that social distancing when we came back. We couldn't have the groups around the bins and all of that. I do believe in the fall we're bringing back composting and we'll get back on track. But I feel the kids, if they get excited and so makes us get excited, to kind of stand there with them and help them sort. And so I think it's going, from our level, going good.
Thank you. And that sort of answered my next question, which is it just that one score across the district?
We are in district.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys.
I was being like, yes. First, I wanted to say I actually was surprised when you said that this was the challenge, because from my vantage point, you all embody Tahoma Cares every single day. When I see you taking care of the grounds, or I see you taking care of a classroom and getting it ready for the next day so that kids are ready to be in a really safe and supportive environment. For me, it just seems so evident, so I'm surprised by that, and it's so exciting to see all of your goals. You mentioned that high expectations is the goal that you wanted to focus on next, so I'm curious why that rose to the top out of all of the different options that you had.
Thank you so much. I think training's a big deal and a goal for us. We could be better. We can always be better, and we can get there. We just need the proper tools. We make sure everyone feels heard and feels supported. That's it. I mean, we all feel like we can better ourselves, and we need to.
So the next
The district's growing. I'm sorry. The district's growing. The buildings are getting more complicated. We need to grow with them.
That makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. And so then my next question is, what is your biggest strength, would you say, out of all of those areas?
Out of all these areas?
Mm-hmm. So if high expectations is the area you want to focus on, was there one that you thought, gosh, you know, we're doing really well there?
In our department?
These ones, equity, high expectations,
Oh, I'm sorry.
partnership, climate and culture.
Whew. What do you think? That's a deep question.
Yeah, there's not a right or wrong answer, I'm just
No,
curious.
that's just
your opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to say partnership. We have a lot of respect for each other. We do respect each other. Communication, maybe not our strongest attribute, but we do collaborate with each other. We collaborate with other departments very well. And I think that's probably our least focused area because that's our strongest area.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of growth in the other areas with wellness and high expectations.
Thank you.
I'll think about wellness. I'll talk about we're working with Liz Deaver, make sure you guys support that too. We talked about that several times, so I just want to make sure the board knows we're working with this to figure out how to, when she does the wellness Wednesdays, it's how to make sure we get our teams involved in this too. So, anytime you want to come see what our team does here, please get a little superintendent. I know we set some of the video tours over the last several months. It means a lot to the team. Take a few hours to come hang out with them, see how it goes and all. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. I want to invite Tom and the team from transportation.
All right, as Sean said, good evening. Thank you guys all for letting us come up here. One of the things we found really important when Tracy, and I want to give kudos to Tracy for starting us off on this, when he brought this to us and in a supervisor director meeting and shared it, he was the biggest cheerleader there was for this. And he got so excited that I got excited and went back to the building. Because finally something hit home with us. So when I went and started sharing it with our group that we ended up putting together, it actually became quite easy. First it felt overwhelming because we, like Sean had said, we're a bit off of the path, the glide path from where everybody is to the students. So when we saw how that can change, that's when we got excited. All right, so I want to introduce my team. This is part of our consensus team for transportation. Jamie and Shannon Hagan, Terry Walston, Lori Harris, and Elizabeth Zimke. There's a couple more members on our consensus team that said, you know, if you have enough, that's great. And so we allowed them to step out. But we got really excited. So when we first got together, one of the things we talked about was what does it look like? And what are we trying to accomplish? And when we talked about it being students, what's best for the students from all angles? You know, one of the things we always hear in transportation is, you know, drivers are the first to see them and the last to see them. But when you look at the big picture on kind of, I think, on how we felt, that's really where we left it. We started there and we ended there. And we didn't feel like we had a whole lot of in between. And I think with what we're doing now, we don't have that same feeling. We feel like we're a piece of it, and we're going to continue to become more of
piece of the puzzle.
So we've got kind of divided up on who wants to talk a little bit about each of our pages. So Carrie Halstead and Elizabeth are going to go first.
Yes, well.
Right. So I'm going to back up a little bit. When Tom started to approach each of us to come and do this work, and he was excited, and so I'm excited, and I'm okay, and then he talks about the timeline, and I'm sure my eyes got about this big. I'm like, I want to be prepared, okay, but you're excited, okay, of course I'm on board. And then a few days later, we had a meeting, and Tracy came down and really went into and he's super excited, went into the process a little bit more, and then we get to the timeline, I'm like, I don't care, and I'm a pretty optimistic person, but I was like, I want to be prepared, and no, you got this, they're both, we got this, we can do this, okay. So a few days later, we have our first meeting. Sorry, I'll slow down a little. We have our first meeting, and it ended up being 3 hours, and we worked on this. And you can tell half an hour into this meeting, the energy, the excitement, because we've never had a chance to write down our responsibilities. I mean, this isn't written anywhere. This is really groundbreaking. And, our responsibilities, the how, the beliefs, and the why. And our values came from when Lori came and she gave everybody, she talked about Tahoma Cares, and really all of us are kind of, we were trying to understand what the concept was. And she gave us all this piece of paper with all these ideas on it. And she told everybody to circle the 10 things that apply to us at our job. And so our values are what our 70 transportation employees picked as the most times. Right? Does that make sense? That's what we picked. And so those are our values. And I just, it's been really exciting work since we really got going in this. And at each page on this, we did the work, and then we take back to the group, and with their feedback, make improvements. And so it's really been a collaboration, because 70 people is a lot of people to really get feedback. And really, when we showed them this, it was the excitement in the room was really pretty cool, pretty impressive. While we were working on this, Elizabeth said, I read something, and we decided to put it up at the top. It's safety first, last, and always. And that's kind of our motto, because it is there's so much more to transportation, and we all know that. But getting them to school safe and getting them home so that everything else can happen is really, so that's why we have that at the top. So thank you for this opportunity.
All right, I believe Jamie's going to come up next and talk on this next slide just a little bit.
Okay, I have to say that Carrie stole some of my words. I'm just saying. I think she looked at my notes while I wasn't looking. I'm not sure. What I wasn't going to say that it has to do with this, but I've been here since 1992, so it's been a long time. And there's been things that have come from the district that kind of just come to us, and we have a meeting on it, and it kind of didn't really apply to us, really. And so what I liked about this is when you guys Lori brought the circle things. She brought that, and we took the first 5 things, and that's how we got started this. And then we took this, put it on a big poster board, since we do have a lot of drivers in there coming and going. We put, we have them do sticky notes on this board to add more to it. We got emails. Some people send us spreadsheets, so the more excited ones. And so, but I have to say that when we did this, like Carrie mentioned, this is your program that you brought us, but these are all our words, which is nice. Instead of your guys' words, it's ours, it's the custodians, it's each department's own words, so we can make it our own. So that's all I have to say.
One thing I want to add with that is when this group got together, when we've got a group of 6 of us, thinking just over 70 people, what we went back and forth with for some of these 3-hour meetings was we have our own ideas, but we're representing 64 other people that are not in there with us at the time. And so we went back and forth and had conversations and chose, like Sean said, those words very carefully. Every word we put in there, we really felt meant something to us. And then we would take it back to them in the larger group and share that. One thing Carrie mentioned briefly was the time frame. When Tracy and I originally wrote it up on what we needed to do to meet the time frame, we started on getting the group together. Then we had a Tuesday meeting set up, and then a Friday all group meeting, and a Tuesday meeting small group, and a Friday. We went back and forth for 5 or 6, 4 or 5 weeks. So when they first saw that, they were like, I don't think this is going to happen. And it did. But anyway, we chose every word thinking about what's important to this group and how did it fit. And then we would take it back to them and get their input. And some of the positive comments we got back from them after we completed something just felt awesome. Okay. Next is Lori and Shannon. Oh, ours is missing. AJ. You're going to make this hard.
We're done.
Well, we have a copy of it, but I think you guys all have a copy too. So.
We did complete the page.
Oh, there we go.
And of course, we chose the actions to be measurable. Every time we thought, oh, here's an idea, we'd say, but can we measure it? Can we give our people another survey and say, how is this working for you? So we want to make everything measurable. And you're going to see there's one green dot there, a couple of green dots. Most of them are not green because we specifically wanted to choose things that we can improve on. Yeah, improvable.
Yeah, and it's a living document, so it's going to constantly change.
We made it real clear to everyone in our department that it can change. And when Tom was saying the word, we chose our words, like, what would they think, and they is not just the drivers, it's the office staff and the mechanics, because we're all together. So we had to think about all of them. This is a little bit different in each department. I don't know if you want us to explain anything, you probably should ask a question.
So, a couple of things is that we haven't done, and it was quite exciting. One, we do have a wellness program with Tahoma, but we found that a lot of the programs the drivers can't do because of the hours that we're working. So we were talking about working with them to adopt our own that works with us. And another thing that we were quite interested in is like adopt the highway or adopt the road. And during our time in between our shifts, maybe get out there and exercise and be with our friends and do a little bit.
So, like she said, one of the things we really tried to do was find things that were measurable, because one thing we talked to our group about a lot was the fact that this is a living document. If you guys have more ideas, this can change. So that we're not stuck at what we're doing if we have new ideas or new plans. We really felt that we have a lot of room to be measurable, but a lot of growth that we can do in our departments. We were excited about that too. Any questions?
Because, Tom, you went through this process. I mean, you know your group, you know your team. I mean, any surprises? Any good or bad surprises when you went through this process?
You know, some of it was, well, we were surprised to get some spreadsheets when we asked for a little feedback on most of it. That was fun. But some of the people that maybe don't speak up so much did. That was pretty nice. I think the other part was, once we came up with that very first page, and we took this to them, the feedback that we got from people coming up to all of us afterwards, and some emails that we got afterwards that just said, we just nailed it. You know, that was surprising, that we were able to read enough what they wanted to put down in writing what they were hoping for. So I think that was
Can I say something? One thing too is when we first did it, it was like they thought, okay, these are good words and these are our words, and we believe this. But then it was still a little confusing on the second page. But then once we got to the third page and we were putting down our goals, like adopt and road, called Audrey Myers to say, hey, can we figure something out so that the transportation can have, wellness stuff going on when we can do it. And when they saw that, then they were finding it was clicking. Like I said, it was ours, and it was helping our people. And, like the wellness program, I mean, I think that's important because if we're happy, it's like Cody said, happy life. So, yeah, I think that is really, when it finally goes, oh, this is ours.
I'd just like to say thank you for doing this. And Tom, I had the visual in my head that you started off with that you're the first thing the students see and the last thing the students see, but there's this thing in the middle, and this is a wonderful thing in the middle that you all came up with. And I hear the pride and the ownership and the enthusiasm that comes along with this, and how powerful this is going to be for your group. And so I'm just really thankful that you did that. And there's also some relation, I think, between the first thing that a student sees and the last thing they see, and that middle. And it's that first line, the safety first, last, always is the middle. And there's just a ton of power that's coming behind this. So thank you all for investing in this and bringing it home.
Anyone else? Other board directors? I would just say thank you. I should have said it to the maintenance team as well. Some of the President Hall said, it's when I was talking to Chris after we did the recognitions, retiree recognitions, and Chris is she was a teacher to two of my kids. I have 5 in high school. When they were little, my oldest graduated from now. When I think back on, when I think back to my own school and my own K-12 experience, and it's my bus rides, and it's the school, it's the buildings. That if I ever go back home, that's what makes me tear up. That's the thing that I remember. Are the grounds and the rides, and Phyllis Goffrey, who was my second grade bus driver, she dressed up in an elf costume for Christmas, proceeded to get pulled over by the police. She was an amazing woman. I still remember her, just because of what I don't know what she did actually. I don't know what it was, and so I'm grateful. I'm grateful that we have this now. It's high performing teams, high achieving teams, successful teams. They're accountable to things beyond just their operational mandates. They're accountable to these types of things. And so I'm really grateful that you have that now. And you've operated with excellence even without this, right? Even not having this kind of North Star that we shared through the district. And so I'm actually really excited to see what happens now, that you now have this part on it and how it can elevate. Hopefully it can elevate you to things even beyond that. So that's exciting. I'm grateful for your enthusiasm and to hear that. And so, because I know there's going to be countless people like me who this is what this function does, what you do as a team. It's what people hook their anchors to for years down the road, it's what they remember of their experiences. And so I'm super grateful for that. And hopefully this gives you those things that you can use to really launch forward.
So I will just piggyback off of what Michael was saying. I think it was really thrilling to hear you walk through the process for us. And one of the things that jumped out at me is actually under our beliefs, it's that last line in the first paragraph of that section that says, you'll maintain the link between community, home, and school with dignity, respect, and trust. And there's just so much thought in that one phrase, for me at least, as a parent. When I think about handing my kids off to you and entrusting you to take them safely to school, I don't let anybody take my children in the car. Truly, I don't. And so that's a huge, it's my life that I'm giving you, essentially. And so I love that you put so much thought and care into this process, and I'm so grateful. And I have the same question for you that I was asking the other group. As you were looking at your list of goals that you have created for your team, what rose to the top as a top priority? I know you mentioned wellness was one thing that you wanted to tackle right away. Was there something that you thought, ooh, we better get on that right now?
Space training for everybody in our department would be amazing.
To help space training? Is that to help with, is that what you said, space?
Space training.
Yeah, for communication?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because then you communicate with your spouse at home better.
And just with the coworkers, all the coworkers. A lot of us have seen it. A lot of us have seen it, like I've done it, I've done it. But not everybody has them. We have new drivers as well, and I think at these times, it's like, we need to communicate a little bit better. And that space training is awesome.
And I think one of the things that we're really proud of on our department is our equity part. I believe our department probably has the most diverse group and department in the school at the moment. And we're very proud of that, and finding new ways to welcome that and celebrate that during the year. We're pretty happy with what we're doing there.
DJ, can you back up 2 slides?
So, when I was working in college, my manager, the place where I worked, one of the things that he liked to talk about was some people being renters and some people being owners, and how well you take care of what you're supposed to be taken care of. And when you guys didn't go over this slide, but this is what I heard in so many of your voices, having an opportunity to talk about what you care about, what your values are, what you feel your role and purpose is. And so the charge to the team is to continue those deep conversations. Don't let this die on the mind. Make it a thing where people are asked about what do they value, what do they care about, what do they see as their role on a continuing basis, so that those changes can be made and modified, on your third page of the document. So thank you guys so much. Really good work. So appreciate it. Our next team coming out is our transitional kindergarten team, and super excited. I think Christine Thurston has our 2 transitional kindergarten teachers with Christine Thurston.
Did you have a link from Sam?
There's a link. Can you refresh? I don't know what's the name. Oh, it might be an executive. Okay.
Give me 1 second.
sewage drain instead of
No, that's not gonna be me, somebody will.
You ready, Tahoma, ready?
It's got to be already, I'm sure.
Tom's already sent it through the door.
I got it.
You're welcome.
Good
job, Mike.
Wow. Hey.
All right. Smiling little faces. Oh, thank you. So my name is Christine Thurston. I'm the Early Learning Coordinator of our Teaching Learning Department. And I have helped to launch a few programs in our system. So we have our kindergarten camp program, our Ready for Kindergarten Parent Workshops, and this year we have our Transitional Kindergarten. And so we started off by just sharing the 5 pillars. I believe Dawn shared that during her presentation back in September, so we just kind of put that in there as a little refresher for you. And then we shared a couple of fast facts for you, a little more specific to the program in Tahoma. But what I'd like to do is to sort of hand it over to our teachers, because I want them to be able to share some stories from the classroom from this year, and then I'll have a little bit of more sharing at the end. So I'll let them introduce themselves. And there you go.
Go to one more slide, because I can jump in.
Oh, yes, I sure do. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Eskison, and I've met some of you, but I teach transitional kindergarten at Shadow Lake. And any side notes? I just wanted to make sure I shared the important things. What I really wanted to share with you tonight was the incredible student growth that we've seen since the last week of January when these kiddos started. It's just blowing me away. And there's really 3 big areas that stood out to me when I was reflecting on this over the last couple of days. But the first one is their stamina for learning. So when they first came to us at the end of January, they could maybe get through a few minutes of sitting on the rug. In fact, I think my instructional coach, Carly, tried to read them a story when they first arrived to class, and we couldn't even get through if you take a mouse to school. So that was, and now we can do 15 to 20 minute phonics lessons, and they're engaged and they are there sitting. And so we have less breaks that we need to take during the day, and this has better set them up to attend when they get to kindergarten. So now they're better able to attend to instruction and receive that content that's coming to them, so I think that's a huge benefit for them. The other area is following directions. So when I gave them little worksheets at the beginning, most of the time they would just color a picture on it and maybe scribble around. And now they know what to do. They know to ask, they know to put their name. So now when they get to kindergarten in the fall, there's some familiarity there, right? So they're not gonna get this writing page and just look at it and think, what am I supposed to do? So now they kind of, I've seen this before, I can do this. And then the last area, which I think is the best part, and I think is so evident from this photo, is the classroom community. When they first came to us, they were shy, they were really scared, they didn't really talk to each other. They sort of played alongside each other rather than with each other. And now they've got these really elaborate games going on that take several days to get through, and they have these like really big friendship groups, and they greet each other in the morning and they cheer for each other. They really do. I hear it all the time. Oh, good job, Stanley. Oh, Charlotte, that was awesome. Like cheering for each other. I just can't. So I think when they get to kindergarten next year, they're just going to be these model students that are really going to model for the other kindergartners, what it means to be part of the classroom community. So this group is just amazing. So, yeah. I'll let Brandon share, and then questions. That's it. Or we just keep talking about these. Yeah. Okay.
So, hi, I'm Marilena Hoskinson. I teach transitional kindergarten at Lake Wilderness, and I'm currently losing a battle with allergies versus me, and they're winning, so I apologize for my voice today. So I also was having a really hard time choosing what kind of growth I wanted to highlight, because because we've seen so much growth across so many different areas. But then today, I got to watch this really awesome student interaction between two students, and I thought, that's what I'm gonna talk about, this interaction. So the biggest growth I see, the best value I can possibly say is an ELL intervention. This program is phenomenal. Because the kids are being introduced to the words, the jargon, the words around routines, how routines are explained, the responses in a really natural way. I had one student, and I'll call him I, at the beginning of the year that could not even say hello in English, and no English, and he did a lot of talking with his hands, was what I called it. So, right, I'm gonna get my message across by, let me know how I feel. And we had all these different interventions for the behavior. On the flip side of that, just socialization, these kids had really never been around any other kids. And so any kid trying to work out how to get a toy that they wanted, there was a lot of talking with our hands, right? And like, I want to move this thing right now. Why are there these routines? So today there was another student having a really hard time transitioning to the next thing. And he was just, nope, not gonna do it. And I came over in English and says, oh, T, if you will put the Play-Doh away and do your lesson, he got the poppet, you can play with my poppet for 5 minutes. And T started to grab the poppet, and he said, just what I did, he goes, no, Play-Doh first, put it in the bucket. And I thought, that's what I want to talk about, that moment of another student coming over, helping a fellow student transition to the activity, and doing it in not his native language that he couldn't even say hello in 3 months ago. So that just embodied the value of this program and the social and language growth that we're seeing with these kids, and it was awesome to see. So thank you.
That is pretty awesome. Am I able to, is that maybe one more? I don't know if you can do it for me, AJ. So the other piece I was just going to highlight is some of the professional development that we've done. We have our instructional coaches within our buildings who have been supporting our 2 first-year teachers. And so, they've helped them with goal setting, curriculum planning, modeling some lessons for them with this new curriculum that they've been using in their classrooms. And so, in addition, we hired an outside consultant. Her name is Jocelyn Manzanares, I believe I'm saying it correctly. She's from Musically Minded, and basically modeled for us how to utilize music and movement in our whole group time, our large group time, during transitions, and just really helping to engage these little 4 and 5-year-olds as we're trying to teach them and help them learn. And so I think that experience was definitely just meaningful and positive, and so we appreciated that opportunity. And so we're on that last one there. So a couple quick things. One, I was so happy to have learned about the ESD 113 is supporting a think tank support group around transitional kindergarten. So there are some districts who have been doing this for a couple years, and then there are others who are brand new like we are, and then there are some who are thinking about doing it. And so this is an opportunity for all of those folks to come together and just talk and get questions answered and share things that they've done that they feel have worked for their system. So I've definitely already gained some knowledge as I think forward to next year, but then also it's been nice that I've been able to share from our perspective of year 1 for those that are starting to come on board themselves with potentially holding a transitional kindergarten in their district. And then we really just want to continue to work to strengthen our program, continue to support our teachers, and create or continue to have this program that's going to really use play as a way to learn. And so stations, centers during that second center time using what's called plan, do, review. And so we just want to continue to build on that and grow that and really just help support these kiddos as they get ready for kindergarten the following year. So thank you. I did want to thank, I see our 2 principals in the audience, and also our transportation, nutrition services. We had special services. We've had so many people that had to come together in a short period of time to make this happen, to problem solve
all the busing, these kiddos are getting on and off buses from their home school to their school where the program is being held. And we just had so much support from everyone who was willing to just, we're gonna make this happen. And everything I feel has just been positive and great. So again, I really appreciate everyone that came together to make this happen with our 2 teachers. So thank you. Any questions for any of us?
I don't even have questions.
I'm sorry, but I'm being polite.
Well, before we ask that, the part I also want to share, backing up to 2020 and even prior to that, the vision that Dawn and you had for this to come alive, the countless hours that you guys have spent working with Bellingham and other groups to figure out what do we need it to look like in order for it to be successful. And then Dawn's relentless pursuit of it to make sure that we would find a way to make it happen has been a really big deal. But I think the other part that can't be lost, Marilyn and Stephanie have been in both of your classrooms so many times, one in particular because it happens to be a hallway at Shadow Lake by Mrs. Hanson, but the job you two do is amazing. People in education know what kindergarten is about. Very few people know what transitional kindergarten is about, and there are distinct differences in terms of the kids that are coming into your classrooms. And Stephanie, I was in your room on day one, and I was so thankful as I was watching what was going on in that class to think about where those kids would be in September of next year, knowing the difference. And then was absolutely amazed, even just a month later, popping back in, the difference in those kids learning how to do school, I guess, from my perspective, was pretty dang amazing. And the same thing, Marilyn, what you've done with the kids over at Lake Wilderness. So gratitude to both of you for operationalizing something that's been a vision here, and you too making it successful. So thank you, both of you. Doesn't all. Oh, okay.
Good words, Mike. I was gonna also thank, I just see threads of partnership through this left and right. Your investment in time to understand what's going on in Bellingham, to find out what that model looked like and bring it here. The fact that you're paying it forward and you're helping other systems do that too is really special. Super thankful for that. The partnership that the two of you have with your buildings and with the community and these kids, it's just tremendous. And even the stories that you've told are so special, like the partnerships that they have. And I can so I've got 2 questions, and one is just that partnership thread. Are there other partnerships out there that we can take advantage of to help this program along? Whether it be something in the community or otherwise. And then secondly, I just think of the transitional kindergartners that we've been teaching this year, then entering a kindergarten classroom next year and being like a model student for those kindergartners, and helping them understand how to do school maybe in a better or more complete way. And I guess I wonder, that's such an empowering experience. Can we take advantage of that and help them along with that kind of notion of going to kindergarten next year and go, keep helping your students out just like you have been.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we've learned from other districts, and that is part actually of WA Kids, which is part of our kindergarten state-funded full-day K program, is building partnerships with the early learning providers in our area. And so one of the things that we did at the beginning, I can't remember exactly when it was, but we held some online meetings, they were Zoom meetings at the time, just an opportunity for providers to attend, to learn what is this transitional kindergarten and how can we partner with you to ensure that kids are sort of in the appropriate program. One of the things that Bellingham had shared is that there might be a case where an early learning provider might feel that instead of their program, because they can't maybe provide all of the resources that a particular student might need, that maybe the district's transitional kindergarten program would be more appropriate for them. So we want to continue to build on that. We have low participation, and so of course we want to continue to spread the word and hope that those early learning providers will want to become more engaged with us and to just learn more and again build that partnership. One of the other things that some districts do that has been kind of on my I would really love to do list is some providing potentially PD for some providers, helping them to see what is Walk Kids, what are the readiness skills that we're hoping kids are coming to us knowing and able to do. And so just being able to, again, kind of provide that information to them and help them see that we do want to work in partnership with them. And they are the ones that are laying that foundation and setting them up for success to come into our classrooms. And so we'll definitely continue to work to build on that. And then, I think that, sort of that idea of having our teachers really help kids understand that you're going to kindergarten in September and you've learned all of these great things this year. You're going to be teaching your friends how to walk in a line and how to, sit and listen to your teacher, or whatever the, examples would be. You're going to build lots of friendships and make new friends. And, these kids are now going off to their home schools, right? So they're not going to be at potentially Shadow or Wilderness. They'll be maybe moving on. And so again, just helping them see that, yeah, you are going to have this new great experience and you've learned so much this year. So I definitely think that our teachers can help to plant that seed. And our current K teachers will know who are those kids who participated in the program and can kind of reiterate that as well of, hey, you're going to be a leader. I'm going to be expecting you to show, right, our friends how to do this and that. So I definitely think we can help build that leadership, that pride, and that community.
I'm not going to fight. Okay. I am so excited. I was so excited that we had the chance to do this because this has so much potential for our community. And so I'm so grateful to all of you for the heart and the time and effort you put into this. But I have to tell a little story about you, Christine, because in my professional world, I'm part of education, online education. And so I had a friend who, Alex John has a blog anyway, and a play course. And so she reached out to me a couple months ago and she said, I think somebody from the district just reached out to me about this play course. You've been so tenacious, tracking down support and professional development and opportunities for this program to grow and become, I don't know, blossom into the greatest potential it can possibly experience. And so I am so grateful to you. I am so excited to have this presentation because there's already so much success, and I'm excited to know where you plan on taking this 5 years from now. What is your goal for this program?
Well, I would love to see it grow so that we could have it in all 6 of our elementaries. Of course, some of you might know there's a space issue, but we will figure that out. We will solve it. When one of the fast facts that we shared was the number of families that applied, right, that were interested in this program. So we had about 50, and I'll be curious to see, does that number increase, decrease, stay the same? Because of course a lot of that came from COVID. One of the indicators or the, what's the word I'm looking for? Something that you need to sort of like be applying is that you don't have any early learning experience, and so no preschool experience. And so if they were already in a program, we want them to stay in their program. We want them to, they already have that opportunity. But then there's families, of course, who either can't afford it or, in some districts in Washington, maybe they don't even have a preschool opportunity. So this is where TK is supposed to help kind of find what we would call those gap kids that just aren't getting that early learning experience. And so, again, I'll just be curious to see what is the need in Tahoma, because it's right now, we have 1 year, so we have 8 sets, but I'll be curious to see how that changes. But I definitely think it would be a great opportunity. I think the state should fund preschool for all, right? So that's the ideal. But here's this way that Bellingham, came up with essentially to kind of utilize the language in the early entrance to fund these transitional kindergarten classrooms, and how great would it be to, again, be able to support, same with kindergarten camp. We wish that everyone could participate and get that sort of that stepping stone, that jump start. And so we want to continue to offer it to as many families as we can with the resources that we have, and just continue to build and grow it. So yeah, I'm excited.
It's impressive, especially when you consider that you're starting from scratch, and it would be really tempting to just be overwhelmed and
I was.
not make more progress. But
And I am so
also jumped
thankful
in.
again to everyone that helped support. So it's definitely not, I'm standing here getting the credit, but there were so many parts and pieces and people that really helped make this happen. So I thank everyone for that. And again, the teachers, like I said, they're the ones doing it day in, day out with the kids and learning as they go and figuring it out. Again, 2 year 1 teachers, and have just done such a fabulous job with these littles. So
Thank you all.
Thank you, nice job.
I have a question and a comment. Do we know yet what enrollments might look like for next year?
we don't yet. So we want to keep our classes at about 15. And so we do our sort of all call to families in November, and then we do interviews in December, and dwindle it down to that, our 2 classes of 15. Okay. So that's the plan next year, is to do 2 more classes. Due to space as well as transportation and wanting to have the most class time in our day, we're moving our Shadow Lake program to Cedar River. That way we have an early start and a late start, because then the busing all aligns, and that's also where our Discovery programs are, so we already have the transfer buses coming to their buildings. And so again, that just kind of helps make all of that go smoothly. And I will add from Lake Wilderness, Melanie, Amanda, the dean there, had the idea to utilize our Discovery kids as big buddies on the bus. And so we then sort of copied that for Shadow Lake, and had those kids take a little bit of a responsibility role of, I'm going to be sitting with this friend and help make them feel comfortable until they kind of get used to riding the bus. Because again, these are 4 and 5-year-olds, and most of them their first time getting on a big school bus, and so that was definitely a great support for them. So there's the one photo, you can see them all walking in together, their little buddies into the school. So.
Is the half-year model, does that speak to kind of the endurance that the kids have in engaging in their learning, or are there other reasons why there's only?
Yes and no. Part of it is really, you don't want to negatively impact the early learning providers in your area. So you want those families that are able to utilize those programs to utilize those programs. I believe October is when also the ECAP program kind of finalizes their class rosters and pieces. I forget exactly what it is, but there's something around that. So again, we want kind of all of those pieces to fall into place before, again, we try to sort of find who are these families who just really don't have access to a high-quality preschool program.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then my comment was just that a lot of this year has been a talk of like, how do we reintroduce students to learning from middle school and the high school level, where that really didn't used to be a consideration. And a lot of those solutions are hopefully going to be very short term, and this year or and next year, sort of return of reminding students how to learn. But this is one of those programs that lasts for a long while, because you're always going to have students that need to learn how to learn when they're 4 or 5.
Right, learning those foundation skills, absolutely.
Any other questions?
My only comment would be, you guys have impacted the learning for their life, for 30 little ones, and we are so grateful. Thank you.
My last comment before turning it back over to President Caldwell, I want to acknowledge to this group the class of 2022 salutatorian is in our presence. He got us in trouble.
We will adjourn at 8:09.
Get the dinner.
Congratulations. Actually, 1 hour video.